world defined by oppression, inequality, and injustice. One man's voice rose above the noise, a voice that demanded truth, justice, and empowerment. This is the story of Malcolm X, a man whose life was a journey from struggle to self-discovery and ultimately revolution.
These men who were your brothers are making threats against your life?
No, I don't worry. I tell you, I'm a man who believed that I died 20 years ago, and I live like a man who is dead already. I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
I don't advocate any kind of hate.
There's a lot of talk that sounds very much like it.
No, I think that the guilt complex of the American white man is so profound until when you begin to analyze the real condition of the black man in America, instead of the American white man eliminating the causes that create that condition, he tries to cover it up.
Born Malcolm Little in 1925, his life would become a blueprint for resistance, a testament to transformation, and a call to action for generations yet to come. Malcolm Little was born on May 19, 1925, in Omaha, Nebraska, to Earl and Louise Little. Earl was a Baptist minister and an activist, inspired by Marcus Garvey's Back to Africa movement. From an early age, Malcolm was exposed to the dangers of speaking truth to power. When Malcolm was just 6, his father was brutally murdered, likely by white supremacists. Soon after, his mother was institutionalized due to the trauma of losing her husband and raising the children alone. Malcolm and his siblings were scattered among foster homes. He was a bright child, but the instability of his home life and exposure to systemic racism planted early seeds of anger and frustration. By his teenage years, he had moved to Boston and later to Harlem, searching for opportunity, but instead finding the streets as a young man. Malcolm turned to a life of petty crime, gambling, and drug dealing. He became deeply immersed in the street culture of Harlem, often boasting that he was one of the smartest hustlers in the city. By 1946, his criminal activities caught up with him. He was arrested for burglary and sentenced to 10 years in prison, a turning point that would alter the course of his life. Prison, for many, is a place of despair. But for Malcolm, it became a school of self-education. He devoured books on history, philosophy, religion, and politics. He wrote hundreds of letters, studied African history, and began questioning the social structures that oppressed black people. It was here that Malcolm encountered the teachings of the Nation of Islam, a movement preaching black pride, self-discipline, and the rejection of white-dominated society. Through these teachings, Malcolm began the transformation that would define his life. Released in 1952, Malcolm X adopted a new identity, leaving behind the name Little, a remnant of slavery, and embraced the teachings of the Nation of Islam.
What is your real name?
Malcolm X.
Is that your legal name?
As far as I'm concerned, it's my legal name.
Have you been to court to establish the
I didn't have to go to court to be called Murphy or Jones or Smith.
His mission, to awaken African Americans to their inherent power and self-worth. He became a minister, organizer, and national spokesperson, traveling across the country to build mosques and recruit new members.
All you got to do is say Salam Alaikum. Say it slow. Salam Alaikum.
Salam Alaikum.
Salam Alaikum.
Salam Alaikum.
Salam Alaikum.
Salam Alaikum.
Salam Alaikum. You got it down pat? I'm on that African kick for a change. When you go among our people in Africa, you don't find people getting drunk. You don't find people fighting one another.
That's right.
You find everybody practicing love and harmony and unity and forgetting all of the things that bring about division or divisiveness among us.
He preached unity among black people. His speeches were electrifying, unapologetic, and often controversial. Unlike leaders advocating for integration, Malcolm preached self-reliance, black pride, and separation from a system built on oppression.
And I, for one, as a Muslim, believe that the white man is intelligent enough. If he were made to realize how black people really feel and how fed up we are without that old compromise and sweet talk. Stop sweet talking him. Tell him how you feel. Tell him what kind of hell you've been catching.
He warned African Americans, you can have capitalism without racism. You can have democracy without inequality. His message resonated with urban black communities who had long been ignored by mainstream civil rights organizations. But Malcolm's rise also drew attention from government agencies. The FBI monitored him, and he faced threats from both white supremacist and rival factions within the Nation of Islam.
These men who are your brothers are making threats against your life?
No, I don't worry. I tell you, I'm a man who believed that I died 20 years ago, and I live like a man who is dead already. I have no fear whatsoever of anybody or anything.
Despite this, he became one of the most powerful voices in the fight for black dignity and self-determination.
Who taught you to hate the texture of your hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin to such extent that you bleach to get like the white man? Who taught you to hate the shape of your nose and the shape of your lips?
Behind the powerful speeches and the public image, Malcolm X also lived a deeply personal life, one shaped by love, responsibility, and fatherhood. In the 1950s, Malcolm met Betty Shabazz, a young, educated woman who would become more than his wife. She became his partner through the most intense years of his rise and transformation. They married in 1958, building a home and a family during a time when Malcolm's life was constantly under pressure from public attention, surveillance, and threats. Together, Malcolm and Betty had 6 daughters, and while history often remembers Malcolm as a fearless revolutionary, those closest to him also remember a man who was protective, present, and deeply committed to his children. He wasn't just fighting for political power, he was fighting for the future, for his daughters, for black families, for a world where the next generation wouldn't inherit fear as a birthright. As Malcolm's influence grew, so did the danger around him, and for Betty Shabazz, that meant living with a reality most families could never imagine, raising children while knowing her husband was marked as a target. Still, she stood strong, holding the family together while Malcolm carried the weight of a movement. By 1963, tensions within the Nation of Islam had escalated. Malcolm publicly criticized Elijah Muhammad's personal conduct, sparking a split, forced to leave the organization.
Actually, despite the fact that I tried to protect the Muslim movement, if you'll notice, they used their newspaper to slander me and to label me as a hypocrite and as a rebel, and Mr. Muhammad himself said that I defected. Well, in reality, I never even left the Muslim movement. They put me out, and they put me out because of what I knew, and what I knew was told to me by Mr. Muhammad's son.
What it is that Wallace Muhammad, Elijah Muhammad's son, told you?
Well, number one...
Malcolm X later revealed that the cracks inside the Nation of Islam didn't only come from rumors on the outside. They came from inside the house. Malcolm said that Elijah Muhammad's own son warned him about what was happening behind closed doors. He said the son told him that the man he defended so fiercely was not living the life he preached. That Elijah Muhammad, who demanded discipline, purity, and moral perfection from his followers, was privately involved with young women inside the organization, and that children had been fathered in secrecy.
Which was that whenever any Muslim became involved in any kind of sexual relationship with someone to whom they weren't married, that person would be brought before the Muslim community, humiliated, and then isolated for from 1 to 5 years. This was our law.
For Malcolm, that wasn't just scandal, that was betrayal. Because Malcolm had sacrificed everything for the nation, his reputation, his safety, even his freedom of thought, believing he was serving a leader chosen by God. But now Malcolm said he was being forced to face a painful reality. The same hypocrisy he spent years condemning in America was sitting at the very top of his own movement. The revelation left Malcolm in a dangerous position. He had been ordered to stay silent, to continue defending Elijah Muhammad publicly, despite knowing the truth. But silence was impossible for a man of principle. He began speaking quietly, cautiously exposing inconsistencies within the leadership.
Are you not, perhaps, afraid of what might happen to you as a result of making these revelations?
Oh yes, I probably am a dead man already.
Have you received threats on your life?
Oh yes. I first received threats on my life in December.
He faced not only threats but also a profound personal crisis. The Nation of Islam saw this as insubordination. Malcolm's rising influence and his refusal to cover up the scandal made him a target. In 1964, the inevitable happened. Malcolm X was suspended and formally severed ties with the Nation of Islam. Yet what could have been a moment of defeat became a moment of transformation. Freed from the constraints of the nation, Malcolm embarked on a journey that would redefine his life and his message. He traveled abroad, seeking knowledge and perspective. He visited Africa and the Middle East, and in Mecca, he witnessed a community of Muslims united beyond race, a vision of global brotherhood that would forever reshape his approach to the struggle for justice in America.
When I was on the pilgrimage, I had close contact with Muslims whose skin would in America be classified as white, and with Muslims who themselves would be classified as white in America. But these particular Muslims didn't call themselves white. They looked upon themselves as human beings.
From that point forward, Malcolm X was no longer just the fiery spokesperson of the Nation of Islam. He was Malcolm X, a man reborn, a voice independent, and a leader on a global stage.
As far as I'm concerned, as long as that same respect and recognition is not shown toward every one of our people in this country, it doesn't exist for me.
Malcolm's final years were devoted to connecting the African American struggle with global movements. He founded the Organization of Afro-American Unity.
And one of the things that's going to help to bring this about is the independence of Africa. One of the only reasons that we in the West have never organized, we have hated our image and our African image. And because Africa has been in the hands of people who have created an image of Africa that's negative and hateful. And it has been
promoting Pan-Africanism, self-determination, and solidarity. He spoke about Africa's liberation movements, critiqued U.S. foreign policy, and challenged African Americans to view their fight as part of a larger human rights struggle. Malcolm warned, "If you're not careful, the newspapers will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing." His global perspective and uncompromising stance inspired activists from New York to Ghana, and his ideas influenced generations of freedom fighters worldwide.
New bridges must be built because in the minds of the majority of our people today, Africa is too far away. So the only way you and I can point them in that direction is build new bridges. We have to have the type of understanding of Africa and the type of understanding of our people here in order to build a bridge, a contact, a line of communication between the two.
In the final days of Malcolm X's life, the threats didn't just grow louder, they became physical. On the night of February 14, 1965, Malcolm X's home in East Elmhurst, Queens was attacked. The house was firebombed, while Malcolm, Betty, Shabazz, and their daughters were inside. Flames ripped through the building, smoke filling the rooms, as the family rushed to escape. They survived, but the message was clear. This was no longer just political pressure, no longer just surveillance, no longer just rumors of violence. This was an attempt to wipe him out. And what makes it even more chilling is the timing. Just 1 week later, Malcolm would step onto the stage at the Audubon Ballroom and never walk out again.
That's what I said. The Muslims claim I bombed my house. And if anybody can find where I bombed my house, they can put a rifle bullet through my head. It was my children and my own life and my wife's life that was at stake. You know what the degree, what temperature was? It was about 15 or 20. The only thing that I regret in all of this is that two black groups have to fight and kill each other off. I feel responsible for having played a major role in developing a criminal organization.
On February 21, 1965, Malcolm X's life was tragically cut short when he was assassinated while speaking in Harlem. The world mourned the loss of a visionary who had evolved from a street hustler to a global advocate for justice. Yet his legacy lived on. Malcolm X became a symbol of courage, self-respect, and the relentless pursuit of justice. His words continue to resonate. The future belongs to those who prepare for it today.
He meant a great deal to me and my people. I'm sorry that a good man is gone.
From the streets of Harlem to the halls of international recognition, Malcolm X's journey reminds us that the fight for dignity and equality is ongoing. He showed that transformation is possible and that one voice spoken with conviction and truth can echo across generations, inspiring millions to stand, to fight, and to dream of a better world.
Will you now use Shabazz and drop X?
I'll probably continue to use Malcolm X and I'll probably use it as long as the situation that produced it exists.